Detective Mike Neville and the former Armed Response Sergeant and writer Harry Tanging. Thank you very much, Harry and Mike, for your company. Mike, I'll start with you in the studio. Would you agree with those that argue that actually it would be better for safety of police officers and the public that it was banned?
Well, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be banned, but I think it needs to be moved somewhere like Hyde Park. The actual venue is a danger. It's a potential crush. There's the issue of the local residents who have to board their homes up. Often they don't want their houses used as a toilet area. And then there's the vast cost. It costs about £11 million and 7,000 police officers. Now, to put that into context, even Manchester and Liverpool don't have 7,000 police officers. They would be better deployed, I suppose. But it also was in Hyde Park. You could control it. You could make a small charge. People pay to go to see football matches and therefore contribute towards the policing. And so I think it would be fairer and safer all round if it was moved, and then it could be more controlled by being in an open area.
Harry, if 8 people were stabbed and 80 police officers were injured at a football match, for example, let's say Chelsea are playing, do you think actually there would be some calls for change were that to occur?
Yes, no, indeed. In the old Maggie Thatcher days, there was a big clampdown, wasn't there, on these footballers? I think it's a complicated problem. I mean, I'm a Formula One fan, and you got Monaco, and there's no way on this earth that Monaco would have been used for Formula One cars if somebody came there today and said, let's build a race here. It's on health and safety grounds, etc., etc. The problem we've got is where you've got a real bit of historical background and celebrating a culture that has gone on, and there's many, many people enjoying themselves. What I would like to know, and where I agree with Mike, is if it was in somewhere like Hyde Park and it was ticketed, even if it wasn't expensive, you would gain, well, are these 333,000 people every day? Or, you know, making $1 million in 3 days that are attending? Or are they individuals? Are they individuals, or are they the same lot coming? In which case, you know, if it's 1 million people enjoying themselves, then we need to improve the safety. But it seems to be there's an average of 250 arrests every year, but that doesn't really mean much, because many of these arrests, many offences go unchallenged because they're not even seen by the police officers.
Yeah.
We had huge problems with gang crimes, didn't we, using that
Yes.
as the time to take revenge. It is a dangerous situation, but I don't think it's as simple as just saying, right, no more. And I think maybe a good compromise is to put it in somewhere where it's ticketed and very much more safeguarding involved.
Mike, what is the reason that you have sort of gang culture at the carnival itself, and why is there a view that by those people that actually this is the place to enact your revenge?
Well, it's an Afro-Caribbean cultural affair, and many of these young gang members are young black men who are attracted to this. They feel they can fade into the crowd. There are lots and lots of people who are simply there just to enjoy themselves, but that some people will use that as a cover for criminality, for drug dealing, for using weapons and getting revenge on other people, and this is the real problem. And my attitude about the football thing is that at that carnival there'll be people openly smoking drugs, there'll be people abusing the police, dancing or twerking with female police officers to the point of indecent assault. And if any of those actions were done by working class white lads, or any working class lads, whatever colour, going to a football match, they would immediately be arrested, and they would be swiftly arrested and dealt with.
Harry, given what Mike's just said there, that's a pertinent point for much of our audience, because, Harry, they would argue that what they've seen over recent weeks has been a clear-cut case of two-tier policing because of what goes on, the criminality at the carnival. So do you think there's a problem here for the police in general, not just by the assaults or offences that will take place at the carnival, but the optics to the whole nation?
I think the police are caught in the middle here, because you've got a multicultural problem where integration, no problem. Everyone working with each other and no problems. You could have people from every background, every culture, every religion working together. It's when people step away, don't learn English, step away, have communities that it then becomes a them and us. And then the police have to then come in and speak in community meetings. And of course, if you get liaison in community meetings, you get friendships, loyalties, and you start treating one community different from another. And this is where the complaint from white English or even coloured black, brown, English people who are thinking, well, this is not fair. Because if you think of the rally that was recently in London, it was immediately considered far right, even though there wasn't one arrest, and it was extremely peaceful. You have people in wheelchairs celebrating Britain. Maybe we should be allowed to celebrate, bring English and the culture of English without feeling as though we're going to be accused of being far right and racist by mainstream media and even some political police officer leaders.
Well, Harry, I was there, and I don't think I'm part of the National Front or whatever else you might say. But Mike, the pictures that we were just seeing a moment ago from the carnival, you look at those and you think, well, goodness me, gracious me, that looks incredibly peaceful. That looks like they're all just having a good time. How sort of concerned would you be if you were to just look at those pictures?
We wouldn't be concerned at all, but the trouble comes that today is what they call the Children's Festival. It's usually a lot quieter, but the trouble comes in the night when the dark descends. This is when often criminality really takes a hold.
So the pictures we were seeing is from the Children's Festival?
Yes, so that's today. Tomorrow is usually the worst day for crime. But we can't get away from this. For the last 5 years, there's been an average of 10 stabbings per carnival over 5 years, 2 of them fatal. And when they say, oh, there's been 200-300 arrests, if the same criteria for arrest that they use at football was used at the carnival, I suggest there'd be thousands of arrests, and it just demonstrates how things are policed differently. And this is bad for society, that we should have an even field. People should feel that the police are acting without fear or favour, and that everybody gets the same treatment. And that's a good society. It's a bad society when people think that others have a free ride, and that just causes grievances.
Harry, do you reckon then at the event that you just mentioned, that rally that took place in London, if there were to be 8 stabbings that took place at that, and several hundred officers injured or assaulted or whatever else, do you think people would be umming and ahhing over the question of banning it?
I mean, if I'm desperately trying to balance this, all right, it's difficult, Darren. I'm trying. I think if 1 million people attended it, they wouldn't treat it quite as severely as if it was 130,000 people. But this is why we need to know: are they the same 300,000 turning up, or are they the same same people every day? In which case, you're talking for a much smaller number of the population that are getting an enjoyment from this. If I'm really honest, you know as well as I know, it's an immediate accusation. It's a simple accusation to throw out. Even I was listening to the Prime Minister's speech after those horrendous murders of those poor young girls, and even I felt, oh, is he talking about me? And that's not being discussed, and that is where the problem is, and that's where people think there's too many grievances going on, and we all need to come together a little bit more on this.
Yeah, Mike, just before I send you off, would you like to actually set out how you, if I can put you on the spot ever so slightly, Mike, because I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, but how would you actually restore trust in British policing and actually have the public not view them as two-tier?
Oh, immediately, I would get the police to focus entirely on crime. Any statistics around diversity I would get rid of. No one ever complains that I didn't like the colour, sexuality or the sex of the officer who came to help me. What they complain about is my house was burgled, my family were attacked, my car was stolen. All I got is a crime number, and the only people on a crime number are those who've got some insurance. The people who are poor and don't have insurance, they get a bad lot. And I think the absolute focus should be on catching criminals, preventing crime, making the streets and our homes safer, and they should be the only targets whatsoever. All this talk of any division must be removed, and we must get back to policing by consent and being policing without fear or favour.
Harry, in a very brief sentence, do you agree with those sentiments?
Yeah, and I think, unless I'm wrong, Manchester police are withdrawing from the Pride marches.
Yeah, that is true.
I think it's important that the police are approachable by everyone. So I totally get the fact it's, yeah, if you're gay, you can approach the police. It's not a problem. We're not going to demonize you like the old days and whatever. But then you go too far. You've got to remain professional. You've got to remain impartial. Through fear nor favour, you should act impartially. And we're missing that at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what Robert Peel set up when he established the police, right? And that was a laudable and perfectly worthy and continued for all this time until recently when we decided that whackery and wokery was more important than law and order. But anyway, we'll leave it there. I've just started, and we could have gone on and on with that. But Harry Tanguy, the former police sergeant, thank you very much for your time, and Mike Neville, the retired Scotland Yard detective.